Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Frenzy podcast. Phil Penarski here, joined as always with Dean Holzwarth and Andy McDonald, our two incredible sports correspondents. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for being here. Lots to get to in today's show. Of course, we have to recap last Thursday's humiliating loss for the Lions in the Hall of Fame game against the Los Angeles Chargers. We'll also be previewing some college football as well, with the Michigan Wolverines and the Michigan State Spartans getting set for their season openers. The coaches poll is finally out. We'll talk a little bit about that. Dean has an awesome sports memory that we're going to be getting to today, finally, after a couple of weeks. But we want to begin, of course, talking about the big news. It's really been the big news really all season so far, really all summer, and that has been the Detroit Tigers. First, we felt the highest of the highs earlier in the season. Things have kind of been brought down to earth. The trade deadline passed on Thursday. 4 new pitchers were added to the team at the deadline by the Tigers, those being Rafael Montero from the Atlanta Braves, Charlie Morton from the Baltimore Orioles, Paul Sewald from Cleveland, the Cleveland Guardians, and Kyle Finnegan from the Washington Nationals. So again, they did bolster up the bullpen. That was something that all three of us have kind of been talking about for a while now. How do you guys kind of rate those moves? Do you think that was sort of the direction that the Tigers needed to address first and foremost?
I think it was the direction the Tigers needed to address. I just don't think they addressed it the correct way. I mean, Finnegan is a fair move. Sure, he had 20 saves this year and is a pretty good arm coming out of there. And it's, to be seen how good he'll actually be as a closer. But yeah, I mean, to me, the rest of the moves, I mean, Paul Sewald's not exactly getting me that excited. Charlie Morton had a great first outing, and we'll see if he's able to keep that going. And obviously, he has a relationship with A.J. Hinch, the starting pitcher. Chris Paddock, as you see, like, you're going to get a game maybe where he goes 6 innings and gives up none, but you're also going to get a game like the other night where he gives up 4 against his old team, the Twins. So I feel like a lot of the moves are pretty mediocre for a team that, had as good of a start to the season as they did. And I'm not sure if the big losing streak really affected how much they wanted to change it. But I also kind of think that maybe it's just a little bit of what Scott Harris wants to do with the fact that he doesn't want to give up any of these prospects. Because to me, you could have maybe given up a 4th or 5th prospect there. The 2 catchers, Lorenzo and Bursaino. Right now, Dylan Dingler has been great this season so far. Are those guys ever even going to see the majors for the Tigers? Like, I don't know. To me, it was like you saw people, for Duran, for the Phillies to get him, of course, they played the Tigers, and he closed them out twice right after they made the trade. They gave up one of their top 5 prospects and then another one outside of that to get him. I don't understand why the Tigers couldn't do the same thing. So for me, right now, with how the pitching has looked, it's kind of starting to level itself out with some of these moves that maybe they hoped were going to be good or are going to be projects. There's obviously a lot of baseball left, but right now I think with the league kind of slipping down to 6 games after the loss today, I don't think these moves are enough to move the needle for me with what I kind of talked about. I don't really see the Tigers right now as a World Series contender unless things really, really turn around.
Mm-hmm. Dean, I mean, do you kind of share that same sentiment that while the moves, showed that the Tigers did see that the bullpen needed to be addressed, the moves did not do enough to actually fix maybe some of the holes that this team is currently facing?
Yeah, I'm not as down as Andy is, I think, right now on the Tigers. We walked in, he was super despondent. But, I do think that some of these moves weren't the best, right? Like, you filled some holes, but I still think on the offensive side, you should have another bat. Right now, Riley Green's on pace to have almost 200 strikeouts, right? And the offense is just not clicking the way it was earlier in the season. So I think you just kind of needed like a punch added to that lineup to get something going here. And so in that respect, I think they should have went out and got a bat. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if Scott Harris made the right decision here by like keeping his prospects, in-house, or, should he have maybe given, like Andy said, given up some and went out after, a better pitcher. We'll just have to see that here in the next month and a half and see if, the moves pay off. But, right now we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kerry Carpenter did provide a little bit of a bat since he's been back, and he's been absolutely tearing it up, so that seems to be big for them. But I guess when I just kind of go through the Phillies series, other than that 2-0 unicorn kind of game, they've been giving up. I mean, the first game of that series, they had the lead. If you're up 3-4 and you're that good of a team, should be able to protect it. They blew the lead that night. They almost blew game 2 of that series against the Phillies. I think they were up like what? It was 4-0 at one point or something. They ended up winning the game 7-5. It got close twice, closer than it probably needed to. And then obviously the Twins haven't won back-to-back games in almost a month, and they're just tearing up the Tigers pitching out there the last 2 games. So yeah, for me, it's just I don't think there's enough on the pitching end that's come around, and I don't know how they're going to just magically get these guys out of their head in the next 2 months to be that much better. But the point being is I don't really know if they can compete with some of the best teams in baseball with some of these pitchers. That's just kind of how I look at it right now. I mean, Charlie Morton's 41 years old. His ERA is almost a career 5.
Yeah.
Paddock is a career ERA of around 5. I think he's like 4.95. Terry Skubal might get 3 games in a series because they might just try to win that hard. But I mean, who else are you really? Casey Mize, sure, he only gave 3 the other night, but he gave 3 home runs. I mean, nobody's pitching good. Flaherty just got lit up today.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm at a loss kind of right now for like. I don't want to be this down on him, but I'm at the point where like, what am I seeing that's really making it better? This has kind of been a problem since like the middle of June with their pitching staff.
Well, and it kind of goes off to the point you were trying to make, Andy, earlier, was that if you're not going to get rid of these guys in the farm system or bring them up, I mean, what are they doing? Like, what is the point of having them other than selling seats for Erie Seawolves games at this point?
Right.
I think, you got to ask yourself, with a team that's this good and, has some of the big pieces that a lot of teams are missing to compete for a World Series title, and they're just kind of thinking that this is going to carry them. And we've seen just really since even before the All-Star break, just this team has just been kind of slumping a little bit. And I guess that just kind of begs the question about panic meter, I guess, a little bit. Are they still the favorites in the American League? Where I think we can safely say that maybe they're not the favorites in the entire league right now, but at least in the American League, are they considered the favorites still, or are they slowly slipping away?
I think they're slowly slipping away, right? Like, obviously, they're only a couple games from having the best record in the American League. I think what the Brewers have it right now. They won like 5 in a row. But I think it's a situation where, like, guys, we haven't seen the Tigers, like, they're just not handling success, right? Like, when's the last time the Tigers have had to, like, handle success, like, had a big lead, had, a really good start to the season? Now
with these guys, never.
With these guys, never.
Never.
So like, I feel like that's part of it. Like, how are they handling success? And right now, not very well. So, we'll see what happens like I said, the next month and a half to see if they can kind of hold on and start playing well and start winning series. And, that's all they have to do, right? They don't have to go out and win every game.
Right.
But you just have to win, each series if you can. But yeah, I just think handling success is something that they've never done before, and so that's part of it.
I mean, they were good for 90 games. I think they don't get to that point without being a good baseball team. And I think the whole thing for them was whenever they lost a game, they were able to kind of wipe it out and then move on and win the series. And it just feels like right now that's not the case. But again, it's like a game like today is a perfect example. The Tigers fight that's a team that probably feels some urgency. They hit a few home runs, take the 4-3 lead, but then your pitching comes back out there and gives up the lead immediately, and then the bullpen comes in and gives up 3 more. Like, it's just kind of it's got to hurt those hitters every single time that happens, because the Tigers are a big momentum team, in my opinion. Like, if they have the momentum going in their direction, they're very hard to stop. But right now it's going the complete opposite direction, and it seems to be affecting them. So these guys might be good at wiping it out, but at some point, talent overcomes a lot of things. And right now the Tigers are kind of starting to maybe show their head a little bit more with who's in this team. So to answer the question, no, I wouldn't say they're the favorite even in the American League right now. And I don't think anybody's running away with it in the American League by any means, because no one's really been that good in the American League right now when it comes to the people at the top. I mean, I think Toronto's the team is still up there with them, and they were just on a big losing skid. Obviously, the Yankees have a bunch of stuff going on right now too. So that's important to keep in perspective. But I just think, so many people, I talk to my friends all the time about this kind of stuff, and I got called dramatic when they were blowing this lead and they got down to 9 games for saying, like, I don't know, I just got this gut feeling. Now we're at 6 games. So it's something's got to change in a hurry. That's for sure.
Right. No, and I think obviously the Tigers have some issues right now, but you got to think that this is probably a good time for them to have those issues, because a lot of other teams also having similar problems, or at least, in the losing column at least, kind of facing the similar situations, I guess, a little bit. But again, you don't want that to be how the Tigers kind of play going into the postseason, especially as we inch closer and closer to fall. I mean, what does this team really need to do, or what would you like to see, especially over these next couple of games as we head into maybe a new week and new series and everything like that? What would you like to see out of them to maybe set your mind at ease a little bit that things are still good? Remember that team at the beginning of the season. Remember that team in April and May and everything like that. I mean, what do they need to do to really prove that back to you guys?
They just got to win series, right? Like, they just have to win 2 out of 3, win 3 out of 4. Just be consistent. And right now, there's no consistency. There's no consistent at the plate. There's no consistent, starting pitching, bullpen. Everything is just off right now. So they just need to be more consistent. and just take each game as it comes. And, like Andy said, wipe away the loss and come back the next day and get a win. But yeah, we can't get into this downward spiral where it just kind of things just snowball effect, and you start losing, you start thinking about it, and our lead's down to 6, now it's down to 4. Like those things just can't enter their mind right now. They just have to stay the course. They're going to be fine, but somehow, some way, they just got to keep improving and keep being consistent.
Well, for me, I want to see the coaching staff find a way to turn things around with these guys once again, because obviously, in my opinion, the way Scott Harris went about this deadline, he kind of just put all of his faith in his coaching staff to be able to make these guys that clearly are like middle of the line people they traded for, and some of the people that are currently struggling, like Tommy Canley, Will Vest has all of a sudden been really bad. Kind of fixing that bullpen. Chris Fetter has gotten a lot of credit, and it's well deserved because he's made a lot of people who didn't have names be something for a while. Well, the film's out apparently because people are getting hit and everybody seems to kind of be spiraling at the same time. This is a real test for him. I think that right now everything kind of falls in the coaching staff to change things around. Whether that's fair or not, that's kind of just the position they've been put in. So I'd like to see if Chris Fetter can work his magic one more time and kind of straighten the bullpen out here in August before you get to September when the games really start to matter. Because right now it looks like it's going to be a tight race and you're going to have a lot of close games. I think they have 6 more against the Guardians. Down the stretch. So you're going to have to win some of those games that are tight because they're a team that usually plays low scoring games. So
yeah, no, definitely something to keep an eye out for. I mean, we'd love to see maybe the Tigers do something like they did at the end of last season, or just go on a crazy run and just kind of lead into the playoffs.
They're doing the opposite right now.
Yeah, right. Yes. The complete opposite.
We don't want
honestly.
to see the Indians do what the Tigers did last year.
Yes,
exactly,
for sure.
Exactly. All right, well, let's switch gears now. Let's not spend too much time berating the Lions because we also are the Tigers because now we have to berate the Lions. Kind of got mixed up on there already because it was an ugly loss on Thursday in the Hall of Fame game. I know it's the preseason and a lot of the stars for the Lions didn't play. Then they're resting up for the actual regular season. But again, I don't know. I felt kind of sad after watching that game. I just felt like they weren't in it or at all. And obviously turnovers played a role in it, and it's still the preseason. These guys, this is their first time maybe seeing NFL action. But I guess what was sort of y'all's big takeaway from that first preseason game?
I don't know. I mean,
is there even anything to really focus on?
It was disappointing, right? You always want to see the Lions win no matter what, right?
Yes.
But you had a couple of muff punts, like you said, a couple of interceptions that kind of led to short fields for the Chargers. Tigers couldn't, or Tigers.
See, we're getting
the Lions couldn't do obviously a lot on offense. Hendon Hooker, when he got in the second half, he was not good whatsoever. He looked lost out there. So I'm not taking. He takes that stuff with a grain of salt, right? It is the preseason, so I'm not too worried right now. We're not going to see those starters, I think, most of the preseason. So, can we expect this in the next 3 games? Probably, but I don't know. But to me, no concern whatsoever. But it was disappointing that they went out and lost by the score that they did.
The fact that we keep mistaking the Tigers for the Lions, it's still baseball season.
Yeah, I know. Right?
So that's probably the answer to the question right there. Yeah, you don't need to be that concerned about it. I don't think. The Hall of Fame game is one that's known that it's an extra game, right? It's almost like a game 0 of the preseason. So it wasn't taken like that seriously, I don't think. However, the one concern is definitely the backup quarterback for me. I think with Hendon Hooker and Kyle Allen kind of struggling the way they did. Now, to be fair, both their best passes of the night were dropped. So they could have had maybe a better completion with that or something more to show for it. But, yeah, there's nothing to worry about yet for me just because it's, again, all backups playing a lot of third-team players. But Dan Campbell came out, so I was at practice on Monday, kind of came out and said that Hendon's going to get the chance to start this week. He still thinks that he's ahead of schedule from where he was at a year ago. But, again, this is something that you want to see start to make some progress because – if it doesn't, it's going to be a problem down the road because at the end of the day, okay, if Jared Goff gets hurt, that's probably the end of the Lions season, all things considered, the schedule. But you still want to have a chance to win some games. So you like to have somebody in there that's a backup and can play for you. I think that's the one takeaway for me is that neither one of them look very good, but now Hendon's going to get to play with a lot of the twos this week. Had more time to practice, a lot more time to be together. So I think you got to look for some major progression this week.
Andy, were you able to see Hendon Hooker at practice? Because I heard different people that he's looked really, really good in practice, but it didn't translate to the game, the Hall of Fame game.
No, we were able to watch all of it. They gave us a lot more access this year to be able to do that, so that was cool. But he looked good. He threw a couple touchdown passes. The Lions do a lot of these things. Well, that was like a fan practice. There was bunch of fans in the stands. I mean, so many people because they did it on a Monday night. So like obviously a bunch of people show up for that. And they obviously run a little bit of a scrimmage, probably try to give people an idea. That's the part that we're not allowed to shoot at the practice, but we're still able to watch it and kind of report on it. And yeah, it was, he definitely had his moments where he looked like he was on time, a lot of wobbly throws. So you like to see that get a little tightened up, but yeah, overall, I thought he didn't look that bad in practice. And again, that's why I'm not taking it so serious yet, because I think that when you're throwing to a lot of threes and people that aren't that good, maybe the Chargers were playing a lot of their twos. I'm not really sure about that. But either way, when it's the first game of the preseason, I'm not going to say if you're on an NFL roster at any point, you have talent, but like obviously not as talented. These guys don't play together. They kind of just get thrown in the field. I feel like the guys he's been working with the twos, which he was doing a lot of practice with, he even had some reps with the first team. He looks pretty good. So I mean, again, it's a whole different world when you enter a game. But yeah, from what you see at practice, he looks more comfortable than he has in the past. That's for sure. I mean, I covered a preseason game last year, and he was pretty bad the entire game, and I was kind of like, oh boy. But what you saw at practice the other day looked a little bit better. So it's a huge game for him for sure. If you're one of those believers that the Lions didn't waste that third round draft pick back then, I mean, this is he's got to prove it in the next couple of weeks. That's for sure. He's going to get the chance to start this time. So
yeah. Now again, that game is happening on Friday against the Atlanta Falcons. Should be a good game. But Andy, you mentioned it in last week's episode that was Hendon Hooker. That was the guy you wanted to see and how he would handle being put actually out onto the field with this team. And kind of what we've been echoing a little bit is that he struggled going into this next game, though. Now that he's got maybe the first game of the season jitters out of the way, I mean, what are you most looking forward to him? Is it maybe more him using his legs? Is it maybe completing a little bit more passes? Maybe it's cutting back on the turnovers. I mean, what specifically are we wanting to see out of Hendon, and potentially also Kyle Allen getting into the game as well?
Yeah, Kyle Allen will definitely have his shot too. I mean, I think it's some people were frustrated with in the Hall of Fame game. He started over him, and some people are saying, well, isn't Hendon supposed to be our backup? And like obviously Teddy Bridgewater got signed at the end of last year. So there's been some drama with that stuff. But yeah, I mean, they keep saying they still have faith in him and everything like that. I think what you want to see if you're a Lions fan is like just the timing on the throws more than anything else. You want to see him be on time. If players drop balls, can't help that. Like if, I don't know, if you miss a couple, it's going to happen. But at the end of the day, you want to see him start to be more on time with the throws and a little more tight with the spiral and stuff like that, because that's kind of the biggest thing in the NFL. If you're not on time, you're going to get intercepted or someone's going to be there to break it up, because it's just it happens that quickly. Ask Jared Goff, he'll tell you. So yeah, it's that's kind of the thing for me. I think you want to see on Friday night is just him to be on time more than anything else.
Dean, kind of the same question-ish. I mean, just with Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker, just wanting to see what out of them. I mean, if Kyle Allen obviously got a little bit more snaps with the teams on last Thursday in the Hall of Fame game, but that also left a lot more for him to be scrutinized over, while as Hendon Hooker's getting the chance now. I mean, right now, how do you see that quarterback race for quarterback 2 going right now?
Yeah, I think Hooker has to just do a better job of reading defense, right? Like, he obviously sees a different defense in training camp, but, he's got to be able to read defenses a little bit better. Make his progressions and figure out, first one's not there, all right, go with my second one. Or, like you said, use his feet if he has to. He just has to kind of take control of this offense and just play with some confidence. Just let things come to him, and I think he'll be fine. Kyle Allen's not supposed to be. The Lions are not in my opinion, they're not keeping 3 quarterbacks, right? So like it's going to be one or the other. So if Hooker doesn't do it, it's going to be Kyle Allen, which I don't think the Tigers want. Oh my gosh, second time today. I don't think the Lions want.
Yes.
But so Hooker has to go out. Like he said, they have faith in him. He just has to go out and prove himself.
Absolutely. I mean, who would you guys? I mean, say the season started right now. Are you guys more comfortable with one or the other guys backing up Jared Goff?
I'd say Hooker, but it's too early.
Exactly.
If Hooker goes out and has another dog game, that's going to take my confidence away from him being their backup.
Yeah, I think it's going to matter a lot what happens these next 2 weeks. I mean, Kyle Allen's done it before, and he's had some success in that role. So maybe it'd be him, but obviously you want it to be Hendon Hooker because he's a younger guy with potentially more talent or whatever. Could maybe be a starter at some point in this league. But yeah. Well, I mean, right now, I just got to see more from either one. Don't really have a preference.
Yep.
Well, we'll have the next chance to check out what they have in store this Friday. Again, they're playing the Atlanta Falcons in the second preseason game of the year. Sticking with football now, but switching from the professional side to the collegiate side. The coaches poll recently came out for college football. It had the Michigan Wolverines ranked at number 14 going into the 2025 season. The Michigan State Spartans, along with some of the other Michigan teams, did not get any receiving votes for that top 25. Let's start with the Wolverines. Do we feel like that's a fair ranking for them going into this season? Obviously, people remember how the season ended last year, beating Ohio State, beating Alabama in the bowl game, and then obviously coming into the forefront now is Bryce Underwood, who looks fantastic this spring so far. I mean, do we think that Michigan is the 14th best team in the country right now, or do we think maybe people just need to see this team actually out on the field a little bit more?
I don't think they're the 14th best. I think the last 2 games of the season is why they are ranked 14th, right? If they would lost Ohio State or whatever, that they're not in the top 15 there. So, like, I just think it's a little bit premature to put them as the 14th best team in the country. So, Bryce Underwood hasn't even taken a snap yet. So, and he's the one who's going to be directing this offense. So, yeah, I think it's too early to kind of tell, but I don't think that they belong at that 14th spot.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that he's. It's crazy to say this. He's making a lot of money, and it's just like it's like he's making a lot of money. This is different than other times in the past when it would always be Michigan as this quarterback coming into the season. Like, this guy really should be it. Like, everybody wanted him, whatever. But how many true freshmen really come in and don't struggle at all? Not
exactly.
like any.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're the 14th best team in the country yet, and I think they're going to get a really rude awakening when they play Oklahoma on week 2, who is in the top 25, but I definitely think is a team that could end up in the playoff by the end of the year if things go right for them. I think they're maybe a little underrated in that scenario. So I think it's the first time in like 25 years or something that Oklahoma hasn't been in the top 25. So they're going to have some games where they might find out a little bit more. That doesn't mean that Underwood couldn't be a good quarterback by the end, but like, realistically, if you went 8-4 or 9-3, that would probably be a pretty good season for him in his first year. The problem is everybody moves on so quick now, and when it comes to Michigan and their fans, like, everybody is just needs now. Like, they don't give them the time to progress anymore, especially the way that college football's kind of been moving. So it'll be interesting to see how people feel about it, but I think that he definitely has the potential to be very, very good. It's a lot to put on somebody's shoulders to be number 14 to start the season, but who knows? Maybe we don't. Maybe we're going to be wrong in that scenario.
Yeah, no. Obviously, time will tell if these rankings show the actual story of this season. Kind of on the flip side, though, Michigan State not receiving a single vote in the coaches poll. Obviously, coming off a pretty rough first season. I mean, we saw some flashes there, going 5-7 under Jonathan Smith in his first year in East Lansing. But I guess kind of looking at year 2 for the Spartans under Jonathan Smith, what is their ceiling? Are we maybe thinking they're a little underrated this year, or kind of, it's going to be another tough year maybe for Spartan fans going into potentially a pretty good third year maybe?
I could see them maybe being underrated a little bit just because they do have some of their pieces back, but at the same time, they kind of got to prove it. It's been a while for Michigan State since they've been that good, but the thing that I'm looking at is honestly, like, they just kind of have a schedule that I feel like plays into them if they do get enough back to be that good. I mean, you got Western Michigan to open the season, Boston College, Youngstown State, USC, who definitely doesn't look that good right now, Nebraska, UCLA, and Indiana. I think they could win any of those games. You can make the argument they couldn't. They could be 7-0 going into Michigan. It's not insane to say that just because of who they're playing against. Will it happen? Probably not. I would predict they'd be like 4-3 or 3-4. But it's possible. So they could be a little underrated. Maybe they get something going. But I think this is, as crazy as it is, with Smith just getting the job recently, I feel like this is already a really big season for him to prove it. So he's going to be doing everything he can to get him ready. But I definitely don't think they deserve to be ranked yet, no.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. Like, they obviously, you have Aiden Shaw's back, you have Marsh back, so you have your best quarterback and your best wide receiver back. But yeah, they have to prove themselves. They have to go out there. But no, it isn't a very attainable schedule. They can go. I was looking at 7-5. I think you saying 7-0 before the Michigan game is a little bit crazy.
No, I'm not saying it will happen.
Yeah, you're saying
you
that
could see it.
I'm saying that it is possible just because of who they're playing against.
Yeah.
But
yes, opponent-wise, yes.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they have the talent this year to compete with some of the better teams. Even though, like you said, their schedule is not obviously chalked with very good teams. But,
I sure maybe I should say Indiana's like legit, but I don't believe they are yet.
Yeah, I think if they're competitive, right? Obviously, there's no moral victories, but like more competitive than last year, and I think they will do better. But this is a big year for Jonathan Smith.
They have to make a bowl game or he's fired, right?
Yeah. Well,
I was going to ask.
no.
I think
too
so.
early. It's only 2 years in.
I think so. Well, new athletic director. I think that matters a little bit.
It might.
Might want to go a different direction and be like, this isn't what I wanted. This was already here.
Right.
If they lose again with his quarterback back, I mean, I don't know. I could see him easily.
But that should be the goal, right? Is to make the bowl.
Yeah,
bowl game.
absolutely.
Right there.
I think that is the next logical step, is to make a bowl
Yes.
game, then you win the bowl game, then you make the playoff, then you win a couple
then
games
you have a
in the
little
playoff.
momentum going into year 3.
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't think he'd be on the hot seat, but definitely this is going to be a big year to kind of tell, because if it's another down year, then third year you've got to do something crazy if you want to stick around in East Lansing for sure.
No doubt.
All right, awesome. Well, again, it's beginning stages of college football. The AP poll's not even out yet. We still got a ways to go before then. So we'll be keeping a close eye on the Wolverines and the Spartans, as well as all the other Michigan teams as well. But we do still have some time. We didn't get to it last week, but actually we are continuing our series of our favorite sports memories here. We've gotten the chance to not only cover so many great games and sports moments, but also be there as fans or check it out on TV and just actually be able to embrace and see these different moments happen. AJ, when he was on a couple weeks ago, he gave us his down at Madison Square Garden for the Sweet 16 of the Michigan State Spartans in basketball. Dean, you're up now, and you've got a pretty incredible story just based off who is involved in this story that takes place some 15 years ago.
Yes, 15 years ago, 2010, Egypt Valley Golf Course hosted the U.S. Junior Amateur. I was fortunate enough to write for the Grandpa's Press at the time. Greg Johnson was our golf writer at the time. And I was out there all week kind of doing stories. I did stories on the calligrapher who was doing the scoreboard. I did a story on Lexi Thompson's brother, Christian. I talked to Jordan Spieth. Just got to talk, obviously these guys at the time were like 14, 15, 16 years old, right? So like, who knew what they were going to, do in the future. But that last day, the championship match was between 14-year-old Jim Liu and Justin Thomas. And Greg Johnson had a family vacation, so he asked me if I could go cover that. I was like, of course. And one special thing for me was my grandparents actually came out and kind of followed the groups around and kind of were with me and stuff like that. And they love golf, and they love watching it, and they knew the players, and so that was kind of special for them to kind of come out and join me while I walked around with them. But yeah, ended up doing a story on them, and then interviewed Jim Liu and Justin Thomas afterwards. And ironically enough, Jim Liu won that, and he became actually the youngest. He was 14 years old at the time. He became the youngest player to win that championship in the 63 years history. Beat Justin Thomas 4-2. So it was kind of crazy because obviously you had no idea what the potential is of these guys at that young age, right? So you look now, Justin Thomas has won 2 major championships. Jim Liu didn't really do anything, right? But he obviously still has that, junior amateur championship. It was 2 days, 2 rounds, so 36 holes. And, it went back and forth a little bit. Jim Liu was up a little bit. Justin Thomas came back. But I think Justin Thomas really struggled with his driver that day. But I could tell he was a competitor because I got to do a one-on-one with Justin Thomas right afterwards. You could tell he was super upset, obviously upset about how things had gone. So you knew he was a competitor. You knew he wanted to win that. But then now just look what he's done, like I said, a couple major championships, and you're in Happy Gilmore too.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So
that puts into perspective like how young they really start at.
Right.
Because like for me, when you're saying that, like 15 years ago?
yeah, 15 years
That's
ago.
crazy.
2010,
It feels like he's been around my entire life, like playing golf and that. I mean,
Right.
obviously I'm younger, but I mean that's crazy to me. Wow.
But you were probably one of the genuinely probably one of the first people to actually interview Justin Thomas, kind of coming up that way. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool thinking about that. Now he's this incredible superstar golfer, and you were there from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think he was 15 or 16 at the time.
That's crazy.
But when he won his first major championship, I remember watching him make that putt, and I was like, oh, I interviewed him.
Hey, I know who that is.
And
Yeah.
actually, Lenny Padilla, he actually has a picture, and I probably should have brought it for you, Phil. He has a picture of me interviewing Justin Thomas. So
Really?
a young Dean standing there interviewing Justin Thomas that he had cut and kind of taken from the side. So that's obviously something I'll always
You got to find
cherish.
that and send it.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
so we'll put it up. We'll edit it in post.
Yeah,
We'll put it
yeah.
up here so everybody else can see
Yeah.
that it did indeed happen.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't believe it. Right?
Yeah, right,
right.
exactly.
So,
yeah,
yeah.
no, Dean's lying about this crazy story, right?
Well, I have the story to prove it.
Yeah.
But no, it was super fun to do that and something I always remember.
No, that is a great story. Perfect for this series that we are going to definitely keep going here on the Sports Frenzy podcast. Dean and Andy, thank you both so much for stopping by. We'll see you again next week.